going everywhere. I don't think that's been taken.
That's you, I think. Yeah, like, and unfortunately,
But every game I've called this year, I've had something. I don't know, one to strike the first one, and last week the bronze. Like, what's today? Wait for Archie. If Archie's on the sideline, something will happen.
yeah, he'll be there.
Have you done a game?
No, I've not done again. It's my first game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, Kristen, you've done it before though. So
Yeah, I've done it before.
yeah, sweet.
As long as we get team sheets.
Yeah, full that. So, no, perfect. You'll have to share mine, but it'll be fine. It'll be cool.
Welcome to the City Equalizer Academy, Melbourne, the City University of Oakleigh. Just a quick reminder, it's important that all spectators at a full Victoria-approved fixture can enjoy the match in a safe and comfortable environment. There's no excuse for abuse. Accordingly, each person present at the FA fixture must respect the decisions and instructions from the match officials and ground marshals. Respect the right, dignity of every person regardless of their age, gender, identity, and expression, sexual orientation, ability, race, colour, religion, language, politics, national, or ethnic origin. Not shame, humiliate, oppress, belittle, harass, or degrade any player, match official, or spectator. Not engage in the use of physical or verbal abuse, whether it is by spectators, team officials, including coaches or players. Not engage in any form of verbal, physical, or online bullying. Not engage in discrimination, harassment, or abuse in any form, whether or otherwise, including not to the use of obscene or offensive language or gestures, incitement, hatred, or violence by taking indecent or racist actions. Respect the facilities, the equipment, or clubs and venues, or any instances of discrimination or behaviour by match official, ground marshal, or by contacting disciplinary or victoria.com.au. Apply FBs, petitions, and entries of venues and any ticketing conditions not carrying violence or related to missiles, including on the field or other spectators. Not enter player field or grounds without lawful authority. Conduct themselves in a manner that enhances rather than injures and reputation and goodwill of FB, footwear, and football generally. Not display any offensive or inappropriate garments, whether it be English or foreign languages, any signs, flags, emblem, which may offend a person or social media or celebrities to affiliated with FB's accurate, uphold the reputation of FBA members. This includes not limited to all players of competition clubs. Adopt and maintain a responsible attitude surrounding consumption of alcohol and other controlled substances, venue policies. Any others who do not comply with codes or who in venue club or FB causes or attempts to cause is responsibility likely to cause these substances may be victims of a venue ban for attending future matches held on behalf of FB. Any offender who breaches this ban or against them may be charged with trespassing and excessive definition of identities and cessation with the possibility of further legal action. Thanks for listening and enjoy your lecture.
You've done well, man.
Oh my god. I was like,
I just gave you Harry Potter 1, 2, and 3.
I said to Zach like 4 times, do you want me to read the whole thing? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you sure I have to read the whole thing?
Fuck, they stitched you up. It's all that.
Well, yeah, it's on my phone. He was about to text to me, I was like, wait, let's do that now. Yeah, it was more like, what else do I actually do?
Why when they're coming back out?
Melbourne City's pretty similar apart from the boys that are in the Champions League squad. They got
I'll just make sure we don't talk. We'll pick up what you guys say pretty well. So, yeah, we'll just work around what you guys will speak. He's hating life out there. His camera blew away before too. And I was like, oh, I don't know if that's gonna still be alright.
Yeah. Starting and then alright, have fun. So they said, Gel, Sally, all goals, and I was like, sure, I'm sure I will be going, but I will be going. I will, but not Danny Lynch, apparently that was. And then they want the music, so they're going to do it now, 1 minute.
What are they playing? I don't play 4-3-3. Yeah.
We want it.
I should be right.
I would assume they start right on 3 p.m. here or something.
Yeah.
So I would just, well, you know how we keep things when I pick you up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just also start like at 6 or something.
Yeah, I used to work out here. Looking after this ground and the other men's pitch. And it's so hard doing anything out here. Shocking.
You've got it.
And then Zombie Nation if you score. I don't know.
Have fun. Did you pre-order the food?
I think, yeah, you were supposed to do a game last week.
Yeah,
And then you had, that's
they
right.
moved our game to against St Albans to the Sunday. It was meant to be
Yeah,
Saturday, then they moved it.
Yep.
Help us level the playing field. Sign the parliamentary petition today to fuel the growth and fund the game.
It is round 4 action of the Senol NPL Victoria live at a very windy controlled cyber campus at Casey Fields, the home of the Melbourne City Football Club's academy. And this afternoon, it is Melbourne City taking on the Oakleigh Cannons in what is going to be one of the hotly contested matches of round 4. We have got another blockbuster Sunday afternoon of action. Of course, across town in Melbourne, we have got the Preston Lions taking on Heidelberg United, which will keep you updated on those scores. But it is going to be a very fierce contest here at Control Cyber Campus. It is Bryce Ruthven taking you through this one, joined this afternoon by Gary Parker. Gary, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Looking forward to the game. I think both sides coming into it. Oakleigh have started well. Disappointed after the Preston game, but picked up good wins against George's and, moving forward against Altona and St Albans. City, good point at Thunder, really good win at Dandy City, but disappointed with last week. So bit of a gate opener this one for City, because they can't afford back-to-back defeats, and Oakleigh know if they win, they could go top of the league today.
That is absolutely spot on, Gary. And let's take a look at the Oakleigh lineup as they travel across the southeast of Melbourne. In goals, number 21, Thomas Mannis. Number 3, Connor Hampson. Number 4, Jordan Hall. Number 5, Jacob Tratt. Number 9, Alex Salmon. The captain in number 10, Joey Guest. Number 14, Kingsley Sinclair. Number 15, Campbell Strong. Number 22, Joseph Ford. Number 23, the man who got voted NPL Men's Player of the Month, Liston Diaz. And number 25, Labib. On the bench for the Cannons, number 1, the reserve goalkeeper, Zach Bowling. Number 2, Brody Boyce. Number 7, Mark Pathridis. Number 8, Cam McGilp. Number 11, Adam Jaradovic. And number 17, James Giorgio. Of course, they are coached by Chris Taylor. And the home side wearing their traditional sky blue kit. In goals for Melbourne City, number 1, Lockie Charles. Their captain, number 3, Ryan Calms. Number 4, Jaden Nikovsky. Number 5, Matthew Baker. Number 6, Angus McIntosh. Number 8, Christian Polizides. Number 10, Beckham Baker. Number 11, Akeem Gerald. Number 12, Isaiah Boston. Number 14, Roland Balla. And number 22, Oliver O'Carroll. The substitutes for Melbourne City. Number 7, Aaron Cartwright. Number 13, Daniel Matina. Number 16, Nikola Jaradovic. Number 19, Luke Bekvanovsky. Number 25, Julian Rachia. And number 67, Sam Robson, coached by Stuart McDonald. And time that very well, Gary, because we are underway for round 4 as we see Jacob Tratt go long. If you are watching on our YouTube live stream, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. And Gary, you can probably tell by the corner flags, the wind is coming straight off the magnificent setup here at Casey Fields, straight into the commentary box this afternoon. So it's I'm not a weatherman, but the wind is quite up there.
Yeah, it is. We played in the 23s before today's game, and the conditions were really difficult. Probably a lot easier playing into the wind, because the ball will hold up for both sides that like to play football. But the conditions are going to have a big say today.
Yep, and you can just see the effect in full effect with the wind there from the shot from Labib. A few changes to Melbourne City's lineup this afternoon, courtesy of the ACL Elite Player Final over in Thailand this week. Of course, Lawrence Wong has heavily featured in this team. Also, Ben Mazzeo scored a couple of goals in the previous weeks. They have been called up as the corners whipped in from Joey Guest. Punched away but not fully dealt with. Jacob Tratt gets a strike away. Alex Salmon tries to get it back inside a dangerous spot, and it's going to trickle out with the wind. But also worth pointing out for those that watched the Preston Lions game last week, Bessian, the right back, got the straight red card too and has received a couple of weeks, which is being appealed.
Huge save by Lachlan Charles right at the start of the game. Oakleigh, good corner in, ball falls, you think he's going to score at the back post, but I tell you, it's a brilliant save by Lachlan Charles.
And Jacob Tratt looking to use the surface here quite well. It is a pristine surface as always out here at Control Cyber Campus, and it's Joey Guest on the ball looking to link up with Liston Diaz. And again, it's going to be a game where any ball, Gary, that really hits above a metre of the turf, it's going to really take.
Yeah, it is, and you can see that Oakleigh are going to try and play the ball at Melbourne City as quick as possible and contest the second ball. They're going to try and keep them pinned in, and quite a simple approach to the game, but keep the game down this way, and they'll be looking for goals with the win, because that's you feel it's a 1 or 2 goal win sometimes.
And a lot of the changes for Melbourne City do come in the front third. Of course, Lawrence Wong has been pivotal in their last couple of weeks, claiming man of the match honours in the last fortnight, so well deserved to call up to the A-League squad for that Champions League fixture over in Thailand this week. And Ben Mazzeo, of course, scoring the equalising goal to keep that tie active heading to Thailand midweek, and he's been crucial for Melbourne City, Gary, the last couple of weeks, scoring multiple goals and featuring heavily in their lead-up play.
Yeah, he has. I mean, it's all about, he's got a good eye, finds space well, you know, his vision's been really good. And it's a really interesting setup from Melbourne City. You know, they'll look as though they're pushing the full-backs high, which they always do. They'll have patience on the ball, but that'll encourage Oakleigh to try and press. And as we say, they're going to try and activate 6 as quick as possible and then play through the line. So it's going to be 2 teams that can play football today.
Well, the good feedback we have heard, and I've seen firsthand myself last couple of weeks calling their games, is the maturity they have been playing with. I think the one sort of, I guess, relation they were given to their counterpart in Melbourne Victory, who of course got relegated from the top flight last season, was not being able to handle the bigger bodies, where Melbourne City have looked very comfortable against the sides like Dandenong City, and then last week against Preston, and today against Oakleigh as well.
Yeah, you know, Melbourne Victory played some nice football, but as you say, the physicality side of the game is really different when you step up the levels. And this will be a big test for them, because a lot of young boys out there, a lot of boys that are good technically, but it's that physicality side of the game. And also a little bit of the dark arts in the game. When to give fouls, when to play sensibly, and, you know, just a little tug of the shirt just to stop playing, stop transition. And that's the side of the game that these young boys need to learn.
There's a chance to get forward here through Oliver O'Carroll, called into the starting lineup, courtesy of 3 changes to Stuart McDonald's men this afternoon. And as I did say, Gary, it's a big clash across town, a big derby game between the Preston Lions and Heidelberg United this afternoon.
Yeah, you know, who would have thought that Heidelberg would have lost at home last week to Dundee City? And, you know, fair play to Preston. You know, they started the season -6. It was really important that they got those points back quickly, and they have. And big result last week. And, yeah, it's set up perfectly, because Heidelberg need to bounce back. And Preston are playing with a lot of confidence, and they'll fancy the chances again today.
A chance to get the ball back in from Isaiah Boston. Joey Guest, if he can identify Alex Salmon, which he does. The option was there for Joey Guest, but the wind and also the deflection didn't assist the multiple MVP of the Senol NPLM Victoria. I've lost count how many times he's won the award, Gary.
Listen, they just put his name on it at the start of the year in case it's easy to scratch off. But, you know, you look at Guess, you look at Salmon, both got a couple of goals already this season. You know, that's where the goals come from. I think between them they've got over 100 goals for Oakleigh. So really pivotal and step up in the big moments, and that's what you're looking for in your main players.
And of course, add Liston Diaz to that lineup now. I tell you what, the Oakleigh side across the park looks pretty well comfortable about, I guess, being in that top 2 spot coming into the season.
Yeah, listen, Diaz has got pace, and he's got pace to burn, and you know, at all levels of sport, that is the one thing that really causes people problems. You know, you look right at the top of the game, people with pace can damage and hurt you, and Diaz, 1v1, he doesn't need to think, he just knocks it in goals.
He's been in that good a form in the opening 3 rounds, has Liston Diaz, that he was named the NPL Victoria Player of the Month for February. So the first, maybe of many accolades for Diaz, wearing number 23 on the left wing, and that's where Tommy Manos goes searching for. Of course, Tommy Manos coming across from Avondale in the off-season to join an equally a strong squad, as we see Melbourne City just looking to play the ball forward, and it's intercepted crucially by Connor Hampson, who was coming out to a left-back role. We have seen him deployed as a centre-back over his time, but in a bit of a different role this year, because you've got Jacob Tratt, who is a man with plenty of experience manning that centre-back position at the moment.
Yeah, you know, Tratt and Hall, both experienced. That's what you've got, good communicators. I'll tell you, the player that's impressed me in the first few weeks has been Campbell Strong. He's operated well in there. He does the simple things and does it well, and he just sits in that hole and allows everybody else to play around about him. And that's a key position in there at 6.
And Melbourne City just struggling to get it out from our left vantage point in the commentary box. I do have to say the Melbourne City staff here at the football club have been very kind to us, putting in inside a commentary box, Gary, so we're not blasted out like our cameraman and his poor camera did earlier this afternoon. So we're very fortunate. Shout out to our cameraman James, braving the elements outside the box, as we see Melbourne City just looking to play their way out of danger, and it's just turned over and it comes all the way back to Jordan Hall. He's got time to settle. He finds his centre-back partner, Jacob Tratt. And Hampson goes long. finds Diaz, who just slips over, and it is a very nice surface out here at Casey Fields that they're playing on, and as you'd expect with this type of field, it was wet before the ground, and it just helps, I guess, probably benefits both teams, really, that speed of play.
Yeah, it is. Both sides like to play. They like to move the ball quickly. It's 1-2 touch, and you see it in all the main events in the Premiership, also in the Bundesliga. They get the pitch wet. They get the ball able to move quickly across the ground. Walked on the pitch today. It's immaculate. It's like playing on a carpet out there. And there's no excuse from any coach for their players today to say that the ball bounced strangely or it didn't roll correctly. It's you're playing on a carpet.
None of your boys played a synthetic pitch before?
Yeah, because we at Oakleigh play and train on our synthetic pitch every week, so it was like a home game today.
You guys are comfortable on it. It's a great synthetic pitch here too. One of 3 synthetic pitches if you haven't been out to the Melbourne City Football Academy. Definitely worth a drive out to Cranbourne as we see Melbourne City looking to drive forward through Matthew Baker. He does well to ride the challenge and finds McIntosh. He can only find ahead of Liston Diaz. Guest and Hampson working in well together, and Alex Salmon with a run in behind. Lockie Charles forced to clear it off in front of our commentary position, but just a good sign of what you can get from Alex Salmon, because really, I don't know where you were watching, but it came out of my vision.
Yeah, listen, he's a smart player. He doesn't waste his energy. What he does is he takes up good positions, which allows him the shortest distance to get involved. And it was, that's what you're looking from your striker, somebody that's going to put a bit of pressure on the goalkeeper. Lockie Charles came in and, just simple first, got rid of the ball. The interesting player that I'm looking at in Melbourne City is Isaiah Boston. I remember him as a youngster, about 15, 16, and he scored goals for fun. He was a striker and a wide man, and I see, City have pushed him into that right-back area, the modern-day full-back that you'd hope he's going to get forward. But again, someone with a lot of pace. So it could be a good match-up between Diaz and Boston.
And he has been coming off the bench the last couple of weeks and then got an early mark, a good 60 minutes, courtesy of Bessie and Kudelshi last week. And his incident involving Preston Lions, which you've probably seen on your social media feeds over the last couple of weeks. I'll see calling that one. It wasn't a great incident, but I think he might have a few weeks off to regather. But he's actually featuring as part of the Asian Champions League squad. Work that one out. Yeah,
so usually when you get suspended. But, different competition, different rules. So maybe you've seen, if we think about football in general, I've seen players that have been suspended for Premiership or Scottish Premiership games and play in Europe, play in the Champions League or play in the Europa League. So it's probably a competition element. And so because it's overseas and are different from domestic, that's how they'll still be able to play. So maybe it was, who's to say it wasn't a sensible move? Nah, we can't condone that. It was a terrible incident, so, but at least he gets to play football.
Well, he does. That's the benefit for Bessian Kudelshi, as we see one of the men that has been in form as a centre-back throughout the competition, Jaden Nikovsky. He was great last week, and here at the Control Cyber Camp's guest, it's the Preston Lions, with, 10 men for 2/3 of that game. He definitely played his part in limiting the goals. I know the scoreline did reflect 3-0, but to be honest with you, I didn't think it was a 3-0 game if you watch that one back, and Melbourne City held their own with 10 men.
Yeah, goals change games, and ultimately what you have to really respect Preston for was the patience. They didn't panic, they just kept the ball, they kept looking for space, and at the end of the day, you can have all the possession in the world, but goals win games, and I'm sure both sides today would take the possession start being against them to win 1-0.
And no doubt a bit of extra motivation for Melbourne City with their former coach, Diamanti. Alessandro Diamanti. He's in attendance today. So he's back over here, of course, doing his coaching badges over in Europe. And good to see the former coach over here. Obviously a man that needs no introduction across world football, as we see Liston Diaz being forced to chase down the pass from Alex Salmon. And it goes to show how the evolvement of this Melbourne City NPL side has come off the back of Diamanti's coaching over the last previous seasons, and then now Stuart McDonald taking over, getting a promotion from the assistant role into the head coaching role, and it seems as though nothing has really changed too much in terms of structure and whatnot from last year.
I think what you've got with the clubs is consistency and continuity, and I think Stuart's come in, and it's sometimes a fresh voice, sometimes just a little tweak here and there, but they've got a really good base, and I think you said it right at the start before the game kicked off. Really important that Melbourne City can try and stay in the NPL, because I think Victory were a wee bit disappointed with the fact that they went up and went straight back down. And I watched City play Berlin in a pre-season friendly, and Nikowski and everybody else really comfortable on the ball with that physicality as well. And you do feel that City have learned from what Victory did last year, and they've been really comfortable on the ball. But they need to get points. There's no good playing good football and not picking up points.
Yeah, that's it. When the pressure comes and you're in a relegation battle, that's when, I guess, boys really have to grow to men pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I like for this team now, because in the NPL structure, there's no promotion or relegation. They're going to bring that in now on the new championship structure, where all the teams are contributing. There's nothing better than playing for league points and live and die on a league table. League tables never lie. That's what they say.
And a win this afternoon for Melbourne City will actually see them jump in front of the Oakleigh Cannons into a fourth or fifth spot, depending on this afternoon's other result over at Genesis Steel Stadium. So there's a lot to play for Melbourne City, but also, as you mentioned, Gary, too, a win this afternoon here for the Cannons can take them to top spot on the Senol NPL Victoria. So a lot to play for, and I don't know if it's just my imagination, but I think that wind is actually getting stronger out here.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I'm glad we're not standing out there on the platform. They say about wind, there's only two sports: kite flying and sailing. That's it.
I hope we've strapped our cameraman in to the scaffolding out there. Wouldn't want to lose him. He's very important this afternoon with the vision, as we see Oakleigh just using this wind to try and just get those narrow channels that you've got here in the sideline in front of the Melbourne City coaching bench. And it's going to be interesting to see just how, I guess, Melbourne City do adapt to the changes made. It's the forced changes, courtesy of the Champions League game over in time, but they've had a pretty consistent squad since round one.
Yeah, but then again, there comes a time when, for the coaches, and Stuart's probably, he'll have pulled the players aside that are starting, and this is a big opportunity, and it's consistency. They probably play the same structure and the same setup, so you'd hope there would be consistency and continuity for the players stepping in. It's just the little bits that they can add as individuals. So the structure will stay the same, the overall play will stay the same, but you're looking for the players coming in just to add that little bit of magic on top of what the structure offers.
So listen, Diaz just deemed to have handled the ball there. It was a good opportunity, but nonetheless it'll be a free kick to the men in sky blue. And we have seen three players already in Bonatig, Lawrence Wong and Ben Mazzeo called up in the first couple of weeks of the NPL to the A-League squad. So Aurelio Vidmar, the head coach here of the A-League squad, definitely not afraid to pick the boys that are showing some form in the NPL here.
Well, and that's what you've got this base for. There's no good having the professional structure set up if the pathway finishes here. I think it's the ability for them to move to that next level. That's why they're all at City and Victory, that they're looking for that A-League opportunity and contract, and that's a huge boost for all the players that are still here in Melbourne, that they're seeing their teammates flying off and playing at another level.
Yeah, another one of those men is on the ball, number 10, Beckham Baker. He had a breakout season in 2025, getting promoted to a senior full-time contract, and it's just so far this season not been called up, but has been very prominent in this Melbourne City NPL squad, and he's been doing well, and no doubt will get his chance throughout the remainder of the A-League men's season, as we see another man that's had a very good start to his season, Nikowski on the ball. And again, just something as simple as just turning away from a man there. It's just, you don't see it from experienced players that are hitting their 30s.
Yeah, but listen, what he's also got is very confident and comfortable with his physicality. So he's prepared to pull the player on, he's prepared to take the little bump, but still have complete control of the situation. And you don't get that at training, and you don't get that in a non-competitive environment. And that's what being involved in the NPL will help. It helped Victory last year with some of the players, but certainly City, that physicality comes into play, and it's a huge part, and they're in. There could be an opportunity.
Yeah, Isaiah Boston doing well to get inside the 18-yard box. He gets a rather tame cutback though on the stumble, and calms the skipper for this afternoon, doing well just to elude any danger going forward on that right-hand side.
They've started well. City have started well. They're into the wind, it's into the elements, it's tricky, it's tough. But they've, apart from that one corner, which realistically I think Jordan Trout will be disappointed that he didn't score. City have kept the ball well. They've been quite comfortable on it. They've not tried to force the issue, and they're just trying to draw Oakleigh onto them. Oakleigh sitting with, looks like two banks of four with the two front men in Guest and Salmon playing there, but they're just waiting for the chance to try and jump. And they have to show patience as well.
We did mention there is another big clash across town at Preston Lions featuring Heidelberg United as well, and I can let you know 17 minutes in they are locked at 0-0 as we see a chance down here on the left-hand side. It's a great strike, the first of the afternoon. Isaiah Boston, that is a fantastic strike, something out of nothing, and it's 1-0 to Melbourne City.
Yeah, listen, we'll have a look at it. You can see it as the balls, they play this little inside pass and they drop it off really quickly, and then it's a quick transference. Simple ball, didn't try and do anything special, one touch and woof, top corner. You look at how quickly they've moved the ball, but it's that little drop off into midfield, it's a quick ball into the half space. No thought process to try and drive at the defence, a simple ball to create 1-for-1, and it's a terrific finish. And you'd have to say it's not against the run of play, because City have controlled the ball quite well in the first sort of 12, 20 minutes of this game. And
I've just watched the replay of the goal. I think I even stitched up the Melbourne City microphone girl here as well. I think it was actually Akeem Gerald on the goal there. So number 11, number 12 look very similar on the Melbourne City back of the jersey. So it was a great first strike, and it's a good start for Melbourne City. As Gary, you said, they've started strong, and I guess just keeping possession and being patient, that's where they've really shown signs in the first 3 weeks of the Senol NPL Victoria of just being patient. We'll see how they respond here, and it's going to sail over the back line. But again, you get the opportunity, you make the most of it.
Yeah, you do. And you know what? Playing into the elements has really helped them, because, Oakleigh have... The wind's blowing right to left here, right into this bottom corner. Most of the plays across here, but City have kept the ball well. They've moved it. They've shown a bit of patience. Next sort of 5-10 minutes, this is when you're susceptible after you score. I think it's really important that they try and keep a hold of the ball, and they're now going to ask Oakleigh to come and chase the game a wee bit.
Yeah, and I don't think Oakleigh would have expected to have, face such a strong start from Melbourne City. Of course, being the older, more experienced side. Sometimes you've seen across this NPL, not only here in Victoria, but also with the other academy sides across the NPLs in Australia, that sometimes these experienced sides just take a bit of adjusting. It might take them 45 minutes to get used to playing the younger, more energetic side.
Yeah, and what you have is that no league points have ever been handed out at half-time. So the 90-minute game is really, really important, but again, Nikolski's just striding out. He's nice and comfortable. Keeps in. If you notice behind the play, City have still got their back four intact, even though the centre back's now finding himself in the 6th position. So that ability to adapt and play in different positions, as you can see, really it draws the foul quite smart, really smart.
Yeah, and I'm going to even make another apology. I reckon the goal was to Roland Balla as well on the left flank. So I've had 2 nightmares there in the one start. Tell you what, I need darker numbers, Gary, on these jerseys. Or I need to wear glasses, one of the two.
Well, you know what? He'll be watching it, he'll be playing it back, so but it's still take nothing away. I'm sure they're quite happy to get the name wrong with a finish like that, as long as it's corrected for us. But it's tough. I would go with the darker numbers. I think that could be our first request of the day.
Hopefully they don't include commentary in their team fines throughout the season. Otherwise, I'll be paying a fortune for that one, as we see Melbourne City going forward again to the wide areas. Now they're doing quite well to find Akeem Gerald. He'll insert the ball into the box. Baker slips over, tries to attempt again. Liston Diaz forced to deal with it. He does well to find Alex Salmon, who holds it up quite well. And just the sprayed pass out of the middle. And that's, again, just the sign of maybe showing the slightest inkling of panic for Oakleigh Cannons, but at the same time, too, I don't want to keep touching on the wind, but it is playing a factor.
Oh, yeah, listen, the wind is... It's just when the ball leaves the ground, the trajectory speeds up. It's tough to sort of keep the ball low if it sort of comes off the ground a little bit. But at the same time, it's just trying to force it. It's just trying to force that extra pass. It was a good combination. But, Kingsley Sinclair, he'll be disappointed with that pass, because he's usually his distribution spot on. But the elements and being a goal down don't help.
And it's interesting to watch Melbourne City and their early play in the first 22 minutes or so is that they are using a lot of Matthew Baker and his left side driving forward, and maybe that is because it's a protected side because of the building, so maybe it's more of an opportunity to play the football that you want to down that side of the pitch.
Yeah, a lot of sides will tell you that it's a lot easier to play into the elements because of the way the ball holds up slightly. It's not running away from you. You can get a quick touch on the ball. But, what I'm really impressed so far with City is look at how they hunt the ball in numbers. They lost possession in midfield, yet there was at least 9 behind the ball really, really quickly, not allowing Oakleigh the ability to break into space. And that's in and out of possession. People talk about the ability to what you do with the ball, but sometimes you win games with how you work as hard out of possession. Because Oakleigh will score goals, Melbourne City will score goals. It's how you structure yourself out of possession is key.
Yeah, I did read a comment during the week on social media regarding Melbourne City and their defensive structure, and just some of the opinions they were reading, all positive, saying that from what people have seen in the opening 3 rounds, that Melbourne City's defensive just their setup and how disciplined they are with their lines. It's one of the better teams in the NPL.
Stuart's a Scotsman. We play with, we've got a bit of caution about us, so we enjoy the defensive side of the game as much as the attacking side of the game. But discipline and the ability to hold your shape is really important. And they're breaking quickly, City, all the time.
Yeah, Angus McIntosh, he's been a staple of the side in that anchoring midfield role, and he was in full flight again with a searching ball for Roland Balla. A chance to come forward here from Christian Polizidis. He's also been in good form to start his Senol NPL season. Comes back to Isaiah Boston. McIntosh again. And the foul's going to be called back on Labib. Again, you can just see what Melbourne City are trying to do. That quick movement, trying to just get in between the lines as quick as possible against Oakleigh. And so far it's worked, but there's going to be an opportunity there for the Oakleigh Cannons too, as we'll stay with play. We've got Akeem Gerald driving down the right side. Finds Polizidis. Comes out wide again. He's happy to keep the ball short. Just the intercept touch. The wind also plays a factor, and Polizidis does well to keep that ball in. Does it even better to get inside the 18-yard box for Joey Guest. Defending wouldn't be his favourite trait, but he's done quite well there to regather possession and maintain it towards the halfway line.
Yeah, they press well. You talked about their structure and their shape, but they're not allowing Oakleigh to transition quickly. So they're getting someone close to the ball as quick as possible when they lose possession, because they know if Oakleigh get their passing game going and get a bit of confidence and start moving the ball, they're a really, really good football inside. And also, make no bones about it, City have got something to defend at the moment. They've got a goal in front, the energy levels are good, they're playing into the wind, so they're going to have to work a bit harder. It's hard to run into this strong wind, so concentration levels need to be good, and so far they're looking as though everybody knows what their job is, everybody knows what they're meant to do, and Oakleigh are just struggling a little bit to get a bit of the rhythm going, and that's to do with what City are doing without the ball.
And any side that's got Joey Guest in the midfield is probably one of the better transitioning teams. So definitely a lot to happen here over the remaining 65 minutes at Control Cyber Campus.
But look who won the ball near the goal line for Oakleigh in that transition moment, which was Guest. So he does work both ways, which is huge, and that's why he's the player he is.
And Melbourne City looking to drive central, and they've got plenty of space to do so. And they find McIntosh. He rides a challenge, it's a fair one, and does well to regather. Lockie Charles got out of his box. Some great composure from the young shot stopper, just to elude any Oakleigh Cannons danger, and a good ball over the top from McIntosh again. But unfortunately, Akeem Gerald just a bit too early. But again, a good sign there of what Melbourne City can do on that transition play themselves.
And when you play into the conditions, the ball over the top's going to hold up. So it puts a bit of doubt into the back four. Do you hold a high line, which allows the ball, if it does go behind, to hold up? It then asks Manos a few questions in defence. Does he hold a high line? Does he sit deep? And it's really interesting to watch City mix their game up. Happy to go through the lines, but when it's on to go over the top, they're really comfortable to do that. And that's I think that's sometimes been a criticism of the City and Victory. They just want to play football all the time, but they're mixing their game up and mixing it up well.
And Beckham Baker gets the ball. His foot into a good option outside the side, and he can't find that regather, and it's just a good chance for Joey Guest to send the ball wide. He does find Diaz, who's forced to bring it down off the noggin, as we see Alex Salmon brought into action. And Oakleigh just having to consolidate possession here and just come back to their centre-back in Jacob Tratt. And you're involved, obviously, with Oakleigh Cannons in the 23s, but Thomas Manos, he's come across from Avondale in the off-season. As we stay with play just for the moment, as we might see a corner awarded here. What have you made of Tommy Manos' move across to the Oakleigh Cannons?
I think it surprised everybody when Tommy moved across, and I think, but you know what, he's experienced goalkeeper. He's won things. He knows what he's on and everything else. And it's, you know, when you can pull a player of that quality in, I think it just goes to show you the calibre of the whole competition that players are prepared to move. You look at what's happened with Avondale to Preston, and then, you know, Tommy's come across to Oakleigh. So there's always going to be a bit of movement, but it's been a great pickup.
He fits in well to Chris Taylor's style of play, as does this man on the ball, Joey Guest. He whips it in towards the penalty spot. Jacob Tratt caught flat-footed. Alex Salmon trying to find a space, and a free kick's going to be awarded, maybe for a push.
Yeah, I think it was just hands-on. Jacob Tratt, you just saw a little nudge as the ball came in. Referee picked it up really, really quickly, but a bit frustrating. You know, I don't think Oakleigh will be happy with how they've started this game. There's been no real sustained pressure down this end of the field. A lot of the game's been played in the middle, and Melbourne City have moved the ball really, really well, and they've moved it through the lines. But it's really, really a game that's going to take... Next goal's really key for me. You know, City will be looking to try and get that second, and Oakleigh know that in the second half they'll be playing into the elements which should suit their game, and they'll be desperate not to concede a second, and they'll be trying to get level as quick as they can.
No doubt Chris Taylor will be frustrated that Melbourne City haven't allowed his side just to even maintain possession for more than probably 5 or 6 passes, as we see them again trying to just take the sting and probably cut Melbourne City's sail just to try and consolidate some possession here, because it's one thing that they have tried to get a hold of.
And they've tended to match up. When you watch both sides out of possession, they've tended to sit in a 4-4-2 block. Melbourne City, they've not forced the game. They've not pressed in a 3. So they're quite happy for Oakleigh to move the ball in front of them, because, you know, any coach will tell you, as long as a side is 70-80 metres away from your goal, it's a good place to allow them to play.
And respectfully to Oakleigh Cannons, they haven't really threatened all too much in the opening 30 minutes. So no doubt Stuart McDonald would be very pleased with his side start, because they actually showed when they had 11 men on the park last weekend against Preston Lions, and everyone who follows the league is well aware of the strike power that they've got across their starting 11 and even their bench, the Preston Lions. But Melbourne City were probably the better side in the opening 25 minutes last week.
Yeah, and we're witnessing it again today. And what's really impressive about City so far is we talk about it, their ability to mix the game. They've gone long, they've played the nice little triangles through 6 in the middle of the field. But when they get into the final third, you notice sometimes it's just a one-touch help round the corner, the second man running in knows what's going to happen. And the mix of their game has been really, really good.
So we see Listen Diaz just getting a bit of a gift in possession, and it's going to be out for a throw-in for the Cannons. And we have had some other games occur across the weekend too in the Senol NPLM Victoria. We did see last night South Melbourne getting a crucial 1-0 win at the home of the Matildas over the Bentley Greens. We also saw Downey Thunder lose at home against Avondale 1-0. And at Paisley Park over at Altona Magic, St Albans got a 1-0 lead, and currently in this afternoon's other game, Preston Lions 0, Heidelberg 0 in the 31st minute. So it's been a very tight round, has round 4.
Yeah, it was, and you know, I'm sure South Melbourne Bentley won't want to see the goal that was conceded against South Melbourne, but the matches are competitive, and it's always been that way. But I think teams are getting closer and closer together now, and I think there's also the element that you do have is that the coaching, the structure of sides, there's a lot more thought going into the game, both in and out of possession, and it's made it really, really enjoyable to watch. They're all competitive now.
Yeah, and Ryan Calms making sure that he recovered there from just a stray pass from the goalkeeper, Lockie Charles. And I think one thing too, playing at the home of the Matildas probably favoured South Melbourne last night, considering I've had 4 games there in 2 weeks, as the ball's whipped in again from Joey Guest. And just an unfortunate touch there from the Cannons. It'll result in a Melbourne City throw.
Yeah, good ball in. Although, to be fair, I think Najeski wasn't under any real pressure when he made the header there. Ball's in and around the 6-yard box. It's a good delivery, but the pace that the ball's coming in with the wind behind, it's a tough ball to attack sometimes as well. Tough to get your head on that.
Absolutely. And it's one thing that both sides are going to have to contend with for the full 90 minutes here. Anyone that knows Casey Fields, just ask the Melbourne Demons what they think of Casey Fields.
I think it's got its own weather forecast. My son said to me on the way here today, there should be a special weather forecast for Casey Fields because it bears no resemblance to the whole of Melbourne.
I've also heard a comment in the past about a Simpsons-like shield that they built over Shelbyville to block out the sun. Could easily be put here at Control Cyber Canvas and would keep everyone happy. But
then would it be the same as the Big Bash? If the ball hits the roof, it counts as a goal.
As you said, many things will come into play just independently for Casey Fields, as we see McIntosh doing well to elude 3 challenges from his opposition. Jacob Tratt just settling things down in front of his bench today, not his home bench, his away bench I should say, is Liston Diaz looks to drive forward. McIntosh again called into action, and Connor Hampson doing a defensive role and an attacking one too, with a good ball across. Alex Salmon couldn't find enough purchase on that one. And Melbourne City again, just very calm, coming out of the back line, and Akeem Gerald just turning it over as I say that.
Alex, that's his trademark. Coming late, coming across defenders. You know, it was on his left foot, just didn't get anything on the ball, but that's his run. He comes really late across defenders. He's hard to pick up, and if he gets, that's why he was disappointed, because he knows a player of his calibre. That's a good sort of what you class as not half chance, but probably something that if he got something on the ball, he would have backed himself to score.
And Tommy Manos just forcing that ball long. A bit disappointed there with Liston Diaz just not getting back into an onside position quick enough. And Lockie Charles will play it across to his captain in Ryan Calms, who brings in Matthew Baker. He's got some space to move the ball forward. Option to promote himself into the space, and he does so very well to Christian Polizidis, who can drive forward. He's got Akeem Gerald on his right. He decides to use that option. Gerald just locks it up, maintains possession. McIntosh, some strong body work on Joe Guest. And Alex Salmon just turns that ball over. Back out to Gerald again. It's intercepted by his own attacking player in Polizidis, and Jacob Tratt just settling things down well to Kingsley Sinclair. Sinclair just having a bit of a tricky start to the game, hasn't he?
He has it, but what you've probably noticed there in the last 3 or 4 challenges, bit of physicality coming in now. Oakleigh starting to snap in a little bit more, getting a little bit tighter, because they know, McIntosh there, really comfortable on the ball, but the second man came in and took it off him. And little nudge just to put him off his stride, and second man Guest comes in to win the ball. So, Oakleigh are understanding that they need to get that physicality in. But the one thing you've got to say that Melbourne City have done, they've been really comfortable in the ball. They've not panicked. They've kept possession at every opportunity, and they've kept their discipline defensively, which has allowed them to stay in this game and not look untoward at the moment. Oakleigh will be disappointed. Chance at the start of the game, little half chance for Salmon, and that's it. No real save for Lockie Charles to make so far.
Well, the one nucleus that you have seen present for the last couple of weeks in Melbourne City is that defensive anchorage of Nachevsky, Ryan Calms and Angus McIntosh anchoring in front of them, and then you add Lawrence Wong in there as a number 8. I tell you what, it's equally as good as any other midfield defensive spine as you see in the Senol NPLM Victoria, as we see Labib just bringing the ball back, intercepted again from Melbourne City. So they're not shying away from the defensive work this afternoon, and Akeem Gerald is coming deep to receive this ball. Plays it back into Boston.
it's really, Melbourne City have played really well. The thing about football, when we talk about goals change games, they will feel, and Stuart will feel, that they've played, probably he would like another goal out of it. They've kept the ball well, they've moved it, they've been in behind Oakleigh 2 or 3 times, never really tested Manos apart from the goal, but their play and their control, he'll be a bit disappointed that it's only one, because Oakleigh know that they've not got going yet, and one goal changes this game.
Yeah, it's really a reward for the possession that they've been able to keep, and really they've been the better of the two sides in this opening 37 minutes. So I think you're spot on there, Gary. I think Stuart McDonald will be looking for another reward going into the half-time break, and he's got just under 10 minutes plus stoppage time to get that reward, as we see Jacob Tratt winning the header, and Sinclair, of course, coming in as well as he anchors the midfield. Tommy Manos, he'll send this ball wide. Finds Labib. Chance to drive out the right touchline for Joseph Ford.
It's the first time we've seen Joseph Ford go forward in this game, so really, really important. He finds himself in the wide area at the moment, needs to get the ball in. Again, the patience from Oakleigh, just not to force things. The wind playing an element in this, because you throw it in high and quickly and the wind's right behind it. We've seen it just overhit on many occasions, but this has been a trademark of Oakleigh over the years. They've got confidence and patience in themselves. They're not going to panic. Yes, it might not be going as well as it normally has for them, but they're going to trust the process and they're going to trust each other.
And listen, Diaz forced into a deliberate foul. It might do well to elude the yellow ticket on this occasion, but at the same time too, how you just said that Ford hasn't been getting forward for the Oakleigh Cannons, and you're right, and maybe the wind is playing that part where they can't get the ball over that right side of the field, but we've seen Connor Hampson getting forward with no issues. Yeah,
we have, but that was really interesting. That's what we talked earlier about, learning the right type of foul. Diaz makes a foul in the middle of the field there. What people might not have seen on camera is Harrison's miles out of position. He's 20 metres in front of the ball. Quick free kick that's given away allows Harrison to drop in instead of being caught in transition, and that's the little things that Stuart will be trying to get into his team, and how to learn those side of the games, because that's critical at this level. When to stop transition and when to sort of take one for the team that they talk about.
Yeah, spot on. Angus McIntosh finding the lines very well, gets Matthew Baker forward across the halfway line. Finds the goal scorer in Roland Balla. You have just joined us. It is a 1-0 lead to the home side. Melbourne City, courtesy of a great strike from Roland Balla. If you go back and watch on the replay, you probably heard 2 different goal scorers, courtesy of a mistake from myself.
Yeah. Are they 3 up?
It's the wind. It took the words and the right name out of my mouth. So that's strong out here at Casey Fields, as we see Jacob Tratt. He's been doing some more positive work for the Oakleigh Cannons, has the centre-back wearing number 5 this afternoon, despite the lack of possession that Oakleigh Cannons have managed to maintain as it comes to Jacob Tratt again.
Yeah, but Tommy Manas has never had a save to make. He's never, he's picked the ball out the net once early in the game, which was a terrific finish. Quick ball transference, one touch and ball movement, and got the ball out his feet. Roland Balla got the ball out his feet, and it was a terrific finish. But he's never really had an opportunity. And you talk about goals change games.
And it is the first of the afternoon for the Oakleigh Cannons. Out of nothing, Liston Diaz. A mistake from Melbourne City, their first of the game, and it is very costly because it has just brought the scoreboard to 1-1.
Yeah, simple ball over the top. Nicheski, who's been magnificent all day, just loses the flight, slips underneath his foot, and Diaz 1v1. And we just spoke about it about a minute earlier. Oakleigh won't panic, they'll trust their system. And a simple ball over the top, and for all the good play, for all the possession that they've had, and for all the comfort that they've had in this game, that's why we love the game. It's changes in a split second, simple, no intricate passing, no brilliant build-up, just a simple ball through the middle, ball's missed, Diaz composes himself, and 1-1 from nowhere.
And that is why he was named February's Senol NPLM Player of the Month, as we'll stay with play as we see Roland Balla getting inside the box again when he side a corner straight off the back of that goal to Liston Diaz. And Stuart McDonald, we were just speaking moments ago, saying he's looking for a reward and a 2-goal advantage going to the halftime break. I tell you what, that completely changes his team talk, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But this next 4 or 5 minutes is really critical. It's a good response to go up the other end and get a corner. Really is important that they don't panic about where they are. They need to see it to half time, try and get there at 1-1, regroup themselves, and it's going to be a big test for Nechesky to see how he copes with that, because he'll be really disappointed when he sees that back. That's a big mistake just before half time. And this is why we play the game. This is going to test his character. Can he put it behind him really quickly, get there, keep Marshall in the defence, and City need to get to half time level. And Oakleigh will go in at half time and they'll be thinking, we've never been in this game, and it's 1-1, and City will go in and go, we've dominated this game, and it's 1-1.
Yeah, I was going to say, Chris Taylor, you kind of be laughing at how that's just turned out for him, because even the goal really just came from nothing. It was a mistake from Melbourne City and just a quick pounce, and Liston Diaz again just being alert to what was happening. And we see that man Nechesky, who did unfortunately make the mistake for City, doing defensive duties again, and he's had a good start to the NPL season, so I think the maturity he has shown the opening month of the season, you wouldn't put it past him just moving on at the halftime break.
Yeah, well, good players do, and this is what you're looking for. So this is the test of character. This is the test of his attitude. And if you want to be an A-League player, if you want to be a professional, it's not when things are going well that you judge a player. It's how do they respond to disappointments. And he's got to just put that behind him and concentrate on doing the simple things and doing them well. And this is when you get asked these questions.
Yeah, and Melbourne City have been forced into earning every point that they have received in the start of the season, going back to Dandenong City a number of weeks ago, holding a 1-0 advantage on the scoreboard, or a 1-goal advantage, I should say, at every point in time. But that pressure was always there from Dandenong City on the scoreboard, always pegging them back that 2-goal to the 1-goal lead. And even last week with Preston, they were applying the pressure, and then the send-off with the brain stuff occurred, and then it just changed things.
Yeah, it does change things, and it's like anything else. It's critical incidents and critical moments of games that change everything. And I'm just looking at the Oakleigh players now. There's more urgency about them. There's a bit more energy about them because they've got themselves back in this game, and we've been part of football for a long time, and I don't care what anybody says, goals change games, and they change momentum of games and everything else, and it's how you can react to it. And I think Melbourne City just need to keep a hold of the ball, don't do anything silly, try and get their composure back. And Oakleigh now, they'll be thinking, we'll just chase that little lost cause just in case.
Well, it was a bit out of character, really, that 10-minute spell for Oakleigh Cannons after the Melbourne City goal, just to be a bit disappointed with it, not respond, as we see a chance from Labib with an early ball across, looking for Liston Diaz, intercepted for a corner.
Yeah, I love the mindset of football as well. When you test people's character and everything, you're looking at City now. So at the moment, every time Oakleigh are going forward, you just think something might happen. Whereas before the goal, it just never looked as though it ever was, and that creeps into Melbourne City now. So they'll be now thinking, can we get to half time? They've conceded a corner. They can't believe they're now 1-1, having been so good in the first half. And you wouldn't put it past this to potentially go in.
Joey Guest whips it into the near post. Assisted with the wind. Alex Salmon will let that sail out, knowing it's a cannon's throw.
Surprised they're not put in. You can tell we're near half time because there is nothing up top for Melbourne City. They've decided to keep everybody back. They look as though they're just going to try and see this out to half time. And, everybody is virtually within the 18-yard box for Melbourne City.
It would be Sinclair sending it back to Tratt, who forces it wide and just apologises, not taking into account that strong wind that has been here since the opening whistle of this round 4 fixture at the Control Cyber Campus. If you've never been out to Casey Fields, this is a standard day that you might get, especially during winter. And that will be the halftime break here of round 4 action between Melbourne City and the Oakleigh Cannons. Gary Parker, your thoughts on the first half?
I'm watching both sides go off, and Chris Taylor, he'll be happy with the result. I think he'll be a bit disappointed with the control that Oakleigh have had. Melbourne City, we've said it all first half. They've really controlled the ball. They've mixed their game up well. You know, they've played through the lines. They've gone in behind. They've transitioned quickly. They've been the side that have looked the most comfortable. But that's why we love football. I mean, it was a great goal by Ballard right at the start. You know, got the ball out his feet, one touch, and rifled it into the faraway top corner. They looked confident. They were stroking the ball around. They weren't under any pressure. And Oakleigh couldn't get their foot in the ball, couldn't get any momentum, couldn't get their system and their passing going due to the wind, and also chasing the game a little bit in the structure of City. And then football, it drives you mad as a coach and a player. You know, you train all week, simple ball through the middle. Majeski misjudges it, lets it go under his foot. Diaz goes through, but shows great composure at the finish. And they walk in 1-1 at half time, and two dressing rooms that will have two coaches looking at the players wondering why it's 1-1. One through sheer, how's it 1-1, because we've dominated the game, and Chris Taylor, who will be looking at it going, hey, 1-1, and we've not even started to play yet.
Yeah, and it's all to play for in the second half, as Gary said, and across town too. The Preston Lions and Heidelberg also locked at 0-0 at half-time. But as we go to a short half-time break here at Controlled Cyber Campus in Cranbourne, it is Melbourne City 1, Oakleigh Cannons 1. No, the one behind.
That looks...
And we're back for the second half here at Control Cyber Campus. It's round 4 action in the Senol NPL Victoria. Is locked at 1 apiece between the home side Melbourne City and the travelling Oakleigh Cannons across southeast Melbourne. And it is Bryce Ruthven, joined this afternoon by Gary Parker. And Gary, it was an interesting first half. Melbourne City with the majority of dominance, you could say, but it sort of switched in the last 10 minutes of that first half.
Yeah, it did. And the dominance was around possession and the style of football that Melbourne City were playing. But you know, we said Tommy Manners never had a save to make apart from picking the ball out the net. And then, you know, Oakleigh, one simple ball through the middle, a poor mistake, and Diaz is through, good composure for 1-1. And I think, you know, Chris Taylor will probably be looking for Oakleigh to get on the ball more, move the ball a wee bit quicker, because, you know, I thought Melbourne City really controlled the tempo of the game in the first half, and it's going to be... I think the elements are going to take a play. It'll be really interesting to see how Melbourne City play with this huge wind behind them, because I thought they looked really comfortable with the ball at their feet, playing it at the elements. And it'll be, I think Oakleigh will be looking to try and get a hold of the ball and get a bit more control into this game.
Yeah, and there you go, a prime example of how strong the wind is out here this afternoon at Casey Fields, the newly named Control Cyber Campus, or more commonly known as the Melbourne City Football Academy, as we see Lockie Charles called into action for the first time this after, or the half I should say, for Melbourne City.
And there it is there. That first little pass there from Angus McIntosh that in the first half was hitting feet. Just the wind just pushed it away, and all of a sudden, you know, Oakleigh have got a bit of field position in the City half, because it's tough to play with the elements. It's, you know, you would think it would be easier with the wind at your back, easier to run, but the ball moves a bit quicker, it runs away from you a bit faster, and I think Oakleigh will be looking to try and use the elements to keep the ball, keep a bit more possession, and try and move more structurally through the thirds that they didn't really get in the first half.
Yeah, we're not speaking out of school when we say it took at least a good half an hour for the Oakleigh Cannons to adjust to the different weather that you get out here at Casey Fields. As we can see something flying across the pitch, whether it's a shin pad or something like that. I think the referee's just coming over to observe.
Yeah, I think he's going to book the shin pad. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, something.
Oh, yeah, no, it is a shin pad. There we go.
But corner, you know, again, start the second half. We're only 2 or 3 minutes in. Oakleigh most of the game up this end and an attacking corner.
It's going to be whipped in by the Cannons captain, Joey Guest. Sends it high, and it's going to curve in to the edge of the 6 yard, and it's going to be very dangerous whipping a ball in from that side.
Yeah, it is, because it's getting thrown in high into the wind. You know, you're asking Lockie Charles to be able to anticipate the flight of the ball, know where it's coming down, and in traffic as well. So it's tough to hit a flat ball in there because it's straight into the wind.
And as we see Jordan Hall just go through the back of Beckham Baker. Not a malicious challenge in any way, but enough to attract the attention of our referee.
Yeah, just enough to say I'm here. You know, and again, if you look at part of the pitch, an important part of the pitch, a foul that you're going to concede without getting a yellow card, it's street smart.
Well, it's one of those things. Melbourne City, in their first 3 weeks of the Senol NPL Victoria, haven't shied away from the physical battle, particularly last week. I'm sure everyone's seen a lot of the game against Preston Lions that was here last Sunday afternoon. I know I was here commentating it with Demir Coulis, and that's one thing we did notice. Even when Melbourne City went down to 10 men, Preston Lions, very well known, very experienced side this year, a lot more mature in the physical strength that they do have across the park. Melbourne City didn't shy away from it at all.
No, you can't, because, you know, you look at all levels of football. It's all right being skillful. It's okay being able to play and have vision, but you've got to be able to match the physicality to then earn the right to play. I think there's a wee bit of an issue here for Jordan Hall. I think he took a kick. Physio's on having a look at him. He's been down for probably about a minute or so, and the last thing you want to do is lose a centre back so early in the second half. But yeah, you know, that physicality is really, really important. And you know, I watch the kids watching the little YouTube snippets of Ronaldo and the step overs, you know, and Junior and Messi, and but these players could look after themselves as well. They had a wee bit of physicality about them, and they could look after themselves. So it's not just the pretty side of football that they could do, and I think that's sometimes missing in the modern day, the ability to, I'm not saying be over physical, but be able to look after yourself and be able to protect yourself in a confrontational situation of a contest for the ball. And you know, that's the thing that I think City have done really well so far this first 4 games of this NPL season.
And it's no secret Cristiano Ronaldo is not one to shy away from the physicality of the game, given his, I guess you could say, athletic build. As we see Melbourne City look to drive the ball into the wind to that right-hand side.
Yeah, you know, that's really interesting, but you know, most of the play in the first half came down this left-hand side with Oakleigh, where the wind's blowing, but straight away City switching the ball into the far side, because the ball will hold up easier when you throw it onto that side of the pitch, because the wind's coming across it, so it won't fly away from you. It'll probably hold up a bit more, so quite smart on that diagonal.
And it is probably a good thing that Melbourne City do train on this pitch, does the NPL side, so they're very used to the conditions that you get here, where Oakleigh Cannons, it's quite a protected ground there in the industrial area. As we see a good opportunity here for Roland Ballard down the left-hand side. He gets inside the box, gets a strike away. Manos caught in the gear, and he's pulled it for great save. It's going to be a corner for Melbourne City.
Yeah, it really is. And Jordan Hall is going absolutely berserk at a couple of players in front of him, because it was a 3-pass move from Melbourne City. They got through the press, and it was just a simple first time help down the line, and you know, got in behind. He was in a position that he couldn't really make too much of a challenge, and it's a really top save from Manos. You know, he's not had much to do, and we talk about the experienced player, and especially in the goalkeeping place, where when they're asked to deliver and they've not been involved for a while, that's why they're top class goalkeepers.
The corner comes in, a bit unconventional to McIntosh. He's going to insert from a different angle, and just safely collected by Thomas Manos. Kind of shaped like he was going to shoot, as we get a quick break here in transition through Joey Guest. And some good defensive work there from Christian Polizidis results in a free kick.
Yeah, again, you just saw that there. Joe Guest trying to use his physicality, but Polizidis did really well, got his body between him and Joe Guest. And, you know, again, really comfortable to put himself in that position, and just a simple foul that was conceded there. So they're the little things that stand out with City, that they're prepared for that physicality, because, you know, Joe Guest's done that to many a player over his career, and has won many a duel that way.
A good bring down there for Melbourne City. A chance to get inside the box again, not fully dealt with just yet by the Cannons. And they win possession again, turn it over, and it comes into a central point of view to Polizidis, who drives a shot low and hard, and Tommy Manos caught in the gear. But it's funny, the mindset of someone like Joey Guest today, a very experienced player, one of the polite terms, one of the better players in the league, coming up against guys that are potentially almost 2/3 of his age. What sort of mindset do you think a player like Joey Guest comes into a game like this?
I don't think the age of a player ever comes into the mind of these of a player like Joe Guest, because he's interested in his levels and his performance. I think he's been in the game long enough now to know that you can't judge anybody just by their age. You know, let's be fair. Who would have thought? And some of the listeners might not be old enough to remember Wayne Rooney, 16 years old, came off the bench for Everton against Arsenal and scored within his first touch. So age is no real barrier. I think somebody like Joe Guest will probably be more interested in making sure his performance is at the level it needs to be, and there'll also be an element where he'll be wanting to show that this is a level you need to get to as well.
Absolutely, that's what I was sort of going with. He's just wanting to make his mark against the youngsters, as we see Melbourne City again getting inside the box, comes across, dealt with to a degree. McIntosh, he'll bring it down. Well intercepted at the back there through Connor Hampson. A chance to drive forward to space to Liston Diaz. Early ball across. Alex Salmon. Good save from Lockie Charles, not dealt with yet. Ball comes out. McIntosh forced just to put it out, to just get some composure amongst Melbourne City.
Lucky Charles, you know, Diaz is away, gets his head up early. Salmon's where you'd expect your 9 to be between the posts. It's a great ball in. Charles comes out, makes himself really big because, you know, he closed the space really quickly, which he made Salmon make the decision to try and have to take it first time. If he hadn't been there, Salmon would have probably taken a touch to try and chip it over him, but great there from Lucky Charles. But you know what? It just goes to show you that all of a sudden Oakleigh have got the bit between their teeth in the games, all in City's half at the moment.
But it's good to see an early sort of tweak in style of play for Chris Taylor's men with Joseph Ford getting a lot higher than we did see in the first half as well.
Yeah, he has got higher, but the thing that's really interesting is that Melbourne City's accuracy with the wind has been really good. They've switched the ball long on 2 or 3 occasions, which is good, but you can see that Oakleigh are looking to try and play the game in the other end of the pitch, and also the conditions are meaning that they can play more football because the ball's sticking now. It's not running away from them, and they're going to try and apply pressure and keep City try and pin back to try and get that opportunity for this goal, and set piece is a good chance for them.
Joey Guest with his second in a row, sends this one high, and it's just like taking a mark at the MCG there for Lockie Charles with that wind. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise you if Joey Guest, with the mentality that he has at times, would have a crack from a corner direct. You never know, but it will stay with play as it's going to just settle down again.
Well, yeah, they will, because it's tough because the wind's blowing right into the corners from right to left. But what's really interesting is look at the press that Oakleigh have set up. So Melbourne City really keen to try and play to 6. That's always their option to get McIntosh on the ball. But they've gone man for man, if you have a look around the pitch. Really high press from Oakleigh saying to Melbourne City, can you play out through the lines? And all of a sudden they're getting really, really physical in that area.
Jacob Tratt caught out of possession. Ball comes across, and it's going to be probably the wrong option on that occasion from Roland Ballon. He got himself in the score sheet in the 17th minute with a great strike. Definitely worth checking out the highlights for. But again, Jacob Tratt just coming off that centre-back positioning and just could have been quite costly there. So it's one thing you have to watch, the Oakleigh Cannons, because that wind is definitely playing a part in that transition.
Yeah, it is. But again, I'm looking back at what Melbourne City are trying to do off goal kicks and set plays. They're trying to set their structure to play through because they know they can't go long because the wind's moving the ball away. So Oakleigh have recognised that. They're going to press high, and you get the feeling that City will continue to try and play that set play, which is get the ball into the middle of the park and use the pivot that they're trying to activate.
Lockie Charles could have had a nightmare moment there, the young goalkeeper, and might have got the knock to just sting the pain a little bit further, but they've just escaped one there, haven't they?
He's escaped one. You know, that's the thing that football is. It's potentially two bad mistakes that nearly cost you goals, but you know, the intensity's picked up from Oakleigh. They're snapping around the pitch a bit more. They're moving the ball a bit quicker. And City are being asked a lot more questions in the first 10 minutes of the second half than they were probably asked in the first 40 minutes.
Joey Guest locking it in against Isaiah Boston at right back, and the ball just sails over with the wind at a very quick speed. And I guess it's the last 5 minutes has really just shown where, I guess, it could be men against boys at times, because Oakleigh Cannons have really just started asserting their authority as an experienced side in Victoria.
Yeah, like any side, you know, you set off a side like Melbourne City that play football, they'll play through you. And Oakleigh have come out in the second half, and make no bones about it. Chris Taylor would have spotted it, he'd have seen it, and he'd have said, listen, we've got to get up, we've got to get tighter, we've got to put more pressure on them and stop the rhythm. And it has been probably a physical masterclass in the first 10 minutes of the second half, where Oakleigh are using all their experience and all their physicality, and the game's getting played in the right areas of the field for Oakleigh at the moment.
Tommy Manos looking to go route one to bring in Labib. Defensive duties called into play from Matthew Baker. And it's going to probably take the likes of someone like an Angus McIntosh where Ryan comes, just to get Melbourne City back on track here at Control Cyber Campus, as we see Beckham Baker just being forced into some defensive duties, which, to be fair, doesn't really suit his game too much. He hasn't really been called upon this second half.
No, and basically what you start to see now is that there's a lot more ball movement and speed that's going through the lines with Oakleigh. They're asking questions more and more now, and Melbourne City they've not got the rhythm at the moment. You know, there's no time on the ball when they're getting it. They're being closed down at every opportunity, and you know, Beckham Baker's going to have to really work hard to find space to try and activate the front end for City, because it's just not happening at the moment.
This is where the consistency of the Melbourne City side has been good in the opening 3 rounds, but 3 forced changes for Stuart McDonald today, courtesy of the Asian Champions League Elite Playoff in Thailand, as it's a good ball through for Joey Gass. Liston Diaz could have his second. It's off the post, cleared off the line by Ryan Calmes, and Melbourne City again escape danger. The free kick will help ease that as well, but my God, Oakleigh Cannons, they should be 2-1 up.
Yeah, they should be. Guess he just drifts into that little half space in the hole between the midfield and the defence, and his vision to pick the run of Diaz. Diaz doesn't run a straight line. He runs an angled line across the centre backs. It's a brilliant ball inside. Does everything right, lifts it past the keeper, but it just doesn't beat the post and comes off the post. And it's a completely different game we're watching compared to the first half. It is just going from left to right and going really, really quickly. And, you know, ball speed and player movement, Oakleigh look as though they know that they're going to have to pick this game up. And if they do, there's an opportunity here for them to get goals.
Avid followers of the Senol NPL Victoria over the years would have seen Liston Diaz score them with his eyes shut. Maybe it was a case of being in two minds for the Oakleigh winger. Again,
I would probably say that Lockie Charles came off his line really, really quickly, and he's running across an angle away from goal, so he's trying to just lift the ball late. So it's a tough thing to try and score when your body weight is going across the way and you're trying to move the ball forward. I think he did everything right other than get the trajectory of the ball. I think that's where it caused him problems.
In my opinion, Lockie Charles has been one of the standout goalkeepers in the opening rounds of the Senol NPL. As the ball comes across from Guest, a good one. Just Alex Salmon caught out by the wind, just adding a bit extra pace to the precision pass from Joe Guest.
Yeah, and this is all coming from the high line that Oakleigh have set for the press. Look, Melbourne City have got themselves set to try and play out. They don't want to go long, and look at the shape that Oakleigh have got in behind them. They've virtually got 2 banks of 3, and they know they're trying to activate the pivot at 6, Melbourne City, and look at the physicality that they're actually offering Oakleigh now.
Free kick just called back for the strong challenge in front of Chris Taylor's bench, and you've got to admire Melbourne City just sticking to their guns. Any other side in the NPL Victoria would probably go away from their structured play, but Melbourne City very much known for playing out at any opportunity given, and they're happy to take on Oakleigh Cannons in that regard.
Yeah, they can take them on. The bottom line will be what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, because it's, you know, sometimes you've got to find different ways to win a game of football. We all want to play beautiful football, we all want to try and have that perfect goal, but sometimes it's Melbourne City's decision that they've got to try and figure out how they're going to beat Oakleigh Cannons today, because Oakleigh have shown their hand at the start of the second half of they feel they know how to beat Melbourne City now.
Yeah, and maybe Lockie Charles has just given a bit of a blueprint into how that could occur for Melbourne City, with the high line over the back line there for Oakleigh Cannons, just with that win, bringing it over. And
in the first half, that ball would have held up. And so, you know, you talk about having the wind as an advantage when you're running with it at your back, because it's harder to run into the wind. But there's a prime example. Lockie Charles goes long and it just goes straight through to Manos. In Oakleigh have gone long a couple of times in the second half, and the ball's holding up in the wind and allowing Labib and Diaz to get in behind City quickly.
And Oakleigh go back to their goalkeeper in the all-green strip today for Tommy Manos, who goes out left to Connor Hampson. Pushes the ball forward to Liston Diaz. Now number 23 top, early ball across. Lockie Charles again collects with safe hands.
But no thought process from Diaz there, trying to get the ball into the box early, not allowing City to get a structured defence organised. But it was just a straight line ball in from the wide area, and it's bread and butter for Lockie Charles. Diaz needs to get a bit of traction or angle on the ball. He can't just fire it straight across.
And the game just sort of coming into more of a level playing field at the moment. We are locked at 1 apiece here at Control Cyber Campus in Melbourne's southeast. There is also another game on this afternoon. It's a big one. It's a Super Sunday in the Senol NPL Victoria. Of course, we have got the Preston Lions taking on Heidelberg United. And it's 60 minutes gone at Genesee Stadium and still locked at 0-0. So definitely worth checking out the highlights of that fixture. And the other ones we did see across the weekend as well. If you haven't been across the results from the other fixtures from the weekend, we did see South Melbourne get a 1-0 win over the Bentley Greens last night at the home of the Matildas. St Albans got a valuable 3 points at Paisley Park against Altona Magic. And Avondale on the road at Dandenong Thunder also got a 1-0 lead as Leiston Diaz enters the box again, and some good defending at the back. Saves a corner and another chance for Melbourne City just to try and play out, and they just do so with such calmness again.
Yeah, but Isaiah Boston's quick as well, and it's a great contest between Diaz and Boston, and two players with pace that they're going to test each other every time they get the ball, and they're going to run. But this is the difference now. You look at City trying to stick to their guns, playing through the lines, and that Oakleigh player in the first half who was 2 or 3 metres away is now virtually jersey touch tight every time they get the ball.
And we are going to see the first substitutions for the afternoon for Melbourne City. It's going to be coming on at number 19, Luke Bekvanovsky, and also Aaron Cartwright. They're going to be replacing Beckham Baker. And just trying to make out who the other substitution is.
Coming on for Melbourne City, number 11, Akeem Gerald. Coming on.
It's Akeem Gerald, the other substitute for Melbourne City as well. So a change of personnel, something that maybe Stuart McDonald has identified, just needing a bit of fresh legs out there, Gary?
Yeah, I also think that it's getting physical, and Baker's really struggled in that sort of first 10-15 minutes of the second half. I think, as you've highlighted as well, Joey Guest's got that sort of physicality that Oakleigh are going around. They just need a bit of energy and a bit of freshness. That's what they're looking for.
And they might get it in the form of the two substitutes as they do drive central. Oliver O'Carroll getting his first start of the Senol NPL Victoria season this afternoon. Couldn't do anything with it in the middle, but it's going to be called for a late foul. No, it's going to be an offside, and it's going to be transitioned quickly from McIntosh. He finds Roland Balla. Does well to bring in Matthew Baker, promoting himself high up the park from left back. And the Oakleigh Cannons doing well just to defend that one and stop any advantage into the 18-yard box for Melbourne City. Melbourne City also do have Daniel Matina on the bench as a substitute. Also Nikola Jurovic and also Julian Recchia as the other three field players as an option. So plenty on the bench. Also too for Oakleigh Cannons, Brody Boyce. They've got Mark Patriadis, also Cam McGilp and Adam Jadovic too. So they've got a lot on there, plus James Giorgio too. So a lot of firepower on the Oakleigh Cannons bench too, and Liston Diaz with a chance to go forward, and probably a smart foul from Angus McIntosh to wear the yellow.
Yeah, that's the bit that we're talking about. The ability to recognise when to make that professional foul, when to stop the transition moment. The one player you don't want breaking into your half is Diaz, and so McIntosh, really, really smart yellow. From a coaching point of view, that's a real professional foul in every sense of the word.
Yeah, worth getting a yellow ticket for, probably in Stuart McDonald's opinion, as it is with us as well, and it just gave Melbourne City the chance to set up properly as Jacob Tratt goes route one again, looking for Labib. He does well to keep it in. Eludes the byline. He brings it all the way back and turns it over. Just caught in two minds there of what to do, Labib.
Yeah, I think what we're noticing, how quickly Oakleigh are prepared to push the ball forward because it's holding up in the wind. They can get numbers to support really, really quickly as well. So Labib, I've watched him pre-season. He's been really quite explosive at times. They've just not managed to get him into the game as much as Diaz on the other side today.
No doubt the Oakleigh Cannons still be looking to get something out of Alex Salmon as well in the remaining 22 minutes here at Control Cyber Campus, as it is Liston Diaz again, getting the ball across early to Alex Salmon. He stayed on side, Tries to get around Lockie Charles. That hits the post. And he's done very well to stay on side, but unfortunate not to find the white net.
How often are we going to say this season? You know, you've got Guest to Diaz to Salmon, and it was just, you know, Joey Guest, a brilliant first-time ball to Diaz. And what's really impressed me about Diaz today, gets his head up really quickly. You know, he could drive a bit more, but he just helps it into Salmon. First one was a good save, again by Lockie Charles, and then he manages to get round and just can't beat the post.
And it's an opportunity here for Melbourne City, and the substitute, Luke Bekvanovsky. Lockie Charles, the goalkeeper, forced to go long. And it worked out pretty favourably for Melbourne City. It's got some possession in a good part of the park. And McIntosh happy to settle things down back to Nikovsky.
Really interesting game now, isn't it? It's you look at Oakleigh, who are doing they're forcing the play. They've gone through the lines really well, and it looks as though City are trying to hit a little bit on the break, trying to use a bit more pace. There's been not the same level of structured build-up that there was in the first half, mainly because of the conditions, but a lot to do with the fact that Oakleigh have shut time and space really, really quickly on City.
And Ryan Calms just marshalling his centre-back partner just to bring it back to Lockie Charles, and he does so, and he finds the space well to Oliver O'Carroll, who just assesses his options in front. He had 4 to pick from, decided on going left, and it hasn't worked out in favour of Melbourne City on this occasion.
Good change there from Lockie Charles. They recognised that Oakleigh have got a high press, went over the press, you know, to Oliver O'Carroll, because he found plenty of space in the middle of the field. So what they've done there is they've said to Oakleigh, OK, you can press us, but we'll go over the press now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next sort of couple of 5 minutes when the ball's at Lockie Charles's feet, whether Oakleigh continue that high press, because that's once they've been given a warning that the ball can go over the press, and Lockie Charles is prepared to do it. Let's just see if it manifests itself into City being prepared to do that more often.
And Oakleigh just turning over possession, trying to play the ball forward. McIntosh comes wide to Bella. Brings in O'Carroll. Going for the fancy option, and it didn't work out, but it does if you're an Oakleigh Cannons fan, and they've turned the ball over just as easy. And maybe it's just early signs, Gary, of just going away from what's been working for both sides in the first, I guess, 15, 20 minutes of this second half.
Yeah, it's I would probably say there's more contests for ball all over the field at the moment. First half, Oakleigh sat off, let City play. You know, when Oakleigh had the ball, City were quite happy to sort of sit as well. But now we're getting towards what they class the business end of the game. You know, we're probably going to move into about the last 20, 25 minutes. Somebody's wanting to win the game. So it's starting to be more of a physical contest at every opportunity now, and City are working harder again out of possession.
Just under 20 minutes remaining here in round 4 at Control Cyber Campus in Melbourne South East. As we see Melbourne City, the home side, looking to drive forward again, well defended by Connor Hampson. Joey Guest just sending it all the way back to Jacob Tratt. Good lucky to do well with maintaining possession, and Tommy Manos comes beneath our commentary position. And just Oakleigh happy again to find the channels, and they do find Joey Guest, who forces the ball wide. Liston Diaz holds it up, he's got 1 to beat in Boston, and it just, again, that battle, it's been on all day, and it's just the younger is doing well.
Yeah, listen, Isaiah's done really well. As I say, I remember Isaiah as a winger who scored goals, and it's been a brilliant battle between the two of them. And what's interesting is that Isaiah's quite prepared to drag Diaz into a defensive job as well, because he's quite happy going up and down. And the game's turned into a bit of a transition game at the moment, and I don't know who that suits, because City like the open spaces to play, but that's allowing Joe Guest to pick ball up and spray real, you know, important passes to Diaz, and that one into Salmon. So it's turning into a bit of a cup tie, I think.
Yeah, Isaiah Boston is trying to get as high as possible when he can, but then it's left the likes of Liston Diaz free to go forward. And Joey Guest, you can see he's well aware, because any opportunity he gets, he does send the ball left, and it does come back to the Melbourne City right back in Isaiah Boston again. He's not afraid to get forward, as mentioned. Turns it over, and he's got a defensive role to get back into now because it goes straight to where Liston Diaz is. Diaz finding Joey Guest, and well defended by the captain in Ryan Carms.
It's a really interesting moment in the game because Diaz picks the ball up and he's up against Nagevsky at centre back, and it's a 1v1. There's 20-30 metres behind him, and he just looks to play a switch ball where earlier in the game, if he found himself against a centre back, he'd be away. So the physical contest between Boston and Diaz, it's taken a lot out of each of them because they're having to work as hard out of possession as they are in possession, and that was probably just a little bit there that showed me that, you know, Diaz just needs a wee bit of a recover before he's ready to go again.
Let's not shy away too. Boston didn't want to get back too quickly to defend as well, so it's a very good battle on that far side, and it's on again at the moment. Liston Diaz wins out. He gets the ball across the face, intercepted by Ryan Carms very calmly, to use his namesake, and they come out again with ease, do Melbourne City. It's O'Carroll riding the challenge of Labib. Does well again to find a substitute in Luke Bekvanovsky. Finds Boland. And Melbourne City just happy to maintain possession. O'Carroll with a small pass, and he's going to get the foul. And some very smart play there from Ollie O'Carroll, because he had a real nothing pass on the end of that, and it's worked out quite favourably.
Yeah, he has. He's played for the foul, and he's drawn it in quite well. Really, really interesting watching the field at the moment away from everything. There's big spaces. This is turned into a transition game at the moment. I think you get the feeling whoever gets the next goal, that's the energy they're going to be looking for to kick in. There's only about, what went the last sort of 15 or so, 16 minutes, and it's plus injury time. Next goal's crucial. It's going to give one team a huge energy boost, and it could take a bit out of the other one as well.
Well, it feels like the game just needs a moment to sort of spark it up for the remaining minutes, and this could be it. And it is going to be the substitute in Luke Bekvanovsky to deliver this one. On the left-hand side of the box, he goes to the back post, sits up in the wind, connected well by the Melbourne City attacker. Alex Salmon trying to bring that down, turns it over. In the process, Ollie O'Carroll again sends the ball wide. Comes to Bekvanovsky. Finds Matthew Baker, who sends it over the top to Bella. And still happy to maintain possession in the left corner. And Melbourne City just being very patient. Showing a lot of maturity in that front third.
Yeah, this is the first time they've really, really kept to hold the ball, but then they've just thrown one into the box that they didn't really need to. Not enough numbers in there, ball in the air a long time, and Tommy Manus is not going to miss those. He's just, those massive big white gloves of his, he's coming out and taking everything. But it's, you know, we're talking about a piece of magic, we're talking about who's got something. Second half, I really have to say Joe Guest has really come into his own. He's found pockets of space in the middle of the field. Diaz looks as though he could be the one that may unlock the door. I'm looking at his energy levels. You really want to try and keep him on the pitch, maybe. But, you know, Guest has really stamped his authority. And I would probably go, my last prediction, I don't think Salmon will miss it. If he gets another one, I don't think he'll miss a third one.
Well, it's surprising Chris Taylor hasn't made a substitution yet, and it's like, I suppose it's been not probably the most intense game we've seen of the season, but in terms of a tactical battle, it's going to be a very taking, I guess, the opportunity just to mentally be across for 90 minutes, as we see another substitution coming from Melbourne City. So Chris Taylor again leaving his bench untouched, and it is going to be Julian Riccia coming in on number 25, and also Nikola Jurevic, number 16. Replacing Roland Bella, the goal scorer from Melbourne City, and also Christian Polzidi. So it's a midfield and a wide change for Melbourne City. So just maybe a sign of Stuart McDonald just wanting to keep things fresh, particularly through the centre of the park for Melbourne City.
Yeah, you know, you asked about Chris Taylor not making a substitution. The flow for Oakleigh's been really good. You know what? They've moved the ball well. They've created some chances, and sometimes you do make a change, and it sometimes can disrupt the flow of the game. So having, work from a coach's point of view, thinking what Chris might be looking at is maybe doesn't want to sort of upset things, doesn't want to change the way the game's going, because Oakleigh have done really well. They've created enough chances.
And that's the question as well. Who do you change? Because things are working well, but maybe not getting the final result that they're looking for. So it's like, do you take the gamble, or do you just hope that something comes through in a reward? It's a strong challenge there from Liston Diaz on Matthew Baker.
Yeah, it's you're looking at the front end of the park, but you're not going to take Guest off. You're not going to take Salmon off, who could score. The only reason you would take Diaz off is if you feel his energy levels have not got the 90 minutes in him. But he's certainly, this little break helps. You get little breaks in the game, players get a chance to get a little bit of second wind and everything. I'm just looking at Diaz with his hands on his knees, and looks as though he's trying to get air in. But he's certainly a game winner. He's caused enough problems in the second half that you're only looking for one. I think Melbourne City, they don't have at the moment. You look at their side, they don't have an individual that you think is going to produce a bit of magic. If it's going to be anything, it's going to be a combination in a team goal or a set play. Whereas second half, Oakleigh have played really well. Joe Guest's been on the ball all the time. Diaz has been a threat. I think Salmon's looked as though he could score on a couple of occasions. So it's have they got enough combination and transition Melbourne City to win the game on the break? Or is there a wee bit of magic from Guest or Diaz to win the game?
And maybe it is a role tweak for Liston Diaz, because he has been the damaging option for Oakleigh Cannons, but he probably is the most gassed. But it's like, hey, do you relieve him of some defensive duties in that process? Because you don't want to give Boston the room, do you? But at the same time, you want Diaz to get something for you. Yeah,
but Boston is quick and he's sharp, and he's offered both ways, front and back. And some of Diaz's 60-70 metre lung busting runs are at the wrong end of the pitch compared to where probably Oakleigh need him to be doing it. But he has to do that.
And just seeing what's going on beneath us here, could see another substitution coming for Melbourne City. So they're going to have all their substitutions cleared. It is going to be Daniel Matina coming on in a matter of minutes. You'd take a pretty good stab at it being Matthew Baker coming off with a strong challenge from Labib.
I think it was Diaz. I think Diaz got booked for it. I think I seen him when he had his hands on his knees. I think it was, when a player runs to the other side of the field and hides, hoping that the referee can't spot him. I think the referee spotted him and gave him the yellow card for that one.
Doesn't help Diaz refresh the engine running to the other side of the pitch.
Yeah, and you know what? The good thing is it's been a 2 or 3 minute stoppage at the moment, so a lot of players will get that energy, give them a wee chance to rest and go again. I think it's next goal wins from where we're sitting at the moment. Next goal wins. There's 9.5 minutes plus injury time, probably your standard 3 or 4. So there's both sides will get a half chance. It always happens in football. They'll always get a half chance, and it's whoever takes it wins it.
And Jacob Trutt just decides just to clear the lines for safety, and it works out well with Alex Salmon searching for Liston Diaz. He tries to find Labib again. He does on the second attempt, and it's a chance to deliver. Gets inside on the right foot, tries to get the strike away, fakes it again. Blocked well at the back there from Melbourne City, and it is the substitute.
If you ever needed an example of not a natural goal scorer, there it was there. Labib had 3 chances to pull the trigger, came inside. I thought he did really well, opened it up, didn't take the shot, then went outside again, didn't take the shot, and then tried to cut back and was crowded out.
Watching the replay, he had a real clear goal sight down even on the second opportunity, he had an even probably clearer opportunity. So nonetheless, it results in the corner, and it's whipped in. It's going to end up at the back post, courtesy of the wind, and as you can see, just sails well and truly over the back post.
Yeah, we talk about it as coaches. You need the ball between the sticks. You need the ball coming down in between the 2 goals there to put pressure on the centre backs and the goalkeeper to make a decision. Very, very rarely are you going to be able to get the ball back across into the wind from where it was, and it just was overhit.
But 7 minutes plus stoppage time remaining here at Control Cyber Campus as we see Alex Salmon bringing the ball down rather tamely. And just relieves pressure for the moment for Melbourne City and gives them an opportunity to play out, and they do so very well. And it's a strong challenge without touching on something that happened last week in the exact same position as what happened last weekend here at the Melbourne City Football Academy.
What's interesting is that they've switched Isaiah Boston to left back now, so maybe the energy-wise that Diaz is up against fresh legs, but Isaiah Boston's dropped into the left back position.
It's a big call from Stuart McDonald because that battle was definitely falling in favour of the Melbourne City right back. As we see Joey Guest playing Labib, the cross blocked, and again that could be that sign of that change, just not really adapting quick enough.
Yeah, it is. It's you get a flow. We talked about Chris Taylor not making changes because the flow of this game, the side that look the most likely to score are Oakleigh, and he's just letting this game go because there's a bit of energy and a bit of flow about Oakleigh at the moment, and this is probably about the 4th or 5th corner.
Comes off the head of the substitute for Melbourne City. McIntosh getting involved as well, and they go route one just to reset their lines, and it's going to end up all the way back to the Oakleigh goalkeeper, Tom Manos. He slices his shot, falls into O'Carroll, shouts of handball waved away, and eventually called back, and a bit of a tough call there on Ollie O'Carroll, I'd have to say, Gary.
Yeah, listen, it was ball to hand. You know, it did hit the hand, but I thought the referee was going to allow it to go. Stuart McDonald's gone.
There's no advantage for Oakleigh, that's for sure.
Yeah, Stuart McDonald's gone absolutely berserk underneath on the fact, because it was a big moment. City were away in transition. They had spare men there, and the calls come in. And what's probably annoyed Stuart McDonald more than anything, the call came in really late. The player had probably moved about 5 metres from the incident, and the ref looked as though he was playing on. And then he called it back, and yeah, Stuart is he's gone a bit tonto there.
Well, there's definitely no sign of either side shutting up shop. Happy with the point as Joe Guest delivers. Sails over the 18-yard box, and it's good to see as we do have 4 minutes or so remaining, and it's literally both sides are eyeing off 3 points still.
Yeah, listen, they're going for it. I think you'd be disappointed if they'd both set up for a point. It's really, again, that's another example. Ball down the left side, Joe Guest, who's usually been really accurate with his deliveries and his passing, because he's passing and trying to cross with the wind at his back, just gets a little bit too much on it, and it flies out for a throw-in at the back post.
And the assistant referee flagging a Melbourne City free kick in front of Chris Taylor's bench, and it's a chance for Isaiah Boston to gain an extra few metres in the process. As we see Sinclair, Labib, just trying to get a bit fancy and turned over. Sinclair again finding Labib, and he can drive forward into space. McIntosh forcing a defensive role, and he just decides to pop the ball up into the sky. The wind takes it about another 20 yards and it probably should have, and it's been quite well.
Yeah, I think that's landed in Cranbourne. I think it's that's how far the wind is. But I think Labib will be really disappointed because he's found himself in some really, really good positions out wide, and the final delivery and final ball's been a bit disappointed. He's certainly got in behind the Melbourne City defence on countless occasions in this second half. So I think the Oakleigh front men will be just a little bit disappointed.
Look at that, Angus McIntosh. When he loses it, he even tries to win it back, and it's good to see. But it's Alex Salmon in a wide area, puts the ball in early. He should get the second attempt, but he's going to let it trickle out for a throw-in. And again, it's just that whoever's going to get that quick transition moment and take it, it's probably where something's going to come from.
Yeah, again, Melbourne City trying to play those little intricate passes in small areas, which when you do that, you allow the second man to become really effective in there because he doesn't have to work hard to close space. He's in there anyway, and that opportunity came from that situation.
Melbourne City trying to make something here on the edge of the 18-yard box, but it results in maintaining possession towards the halfway line. They go forward again. Nancy.
You would say City have got a wee bit of a renewed energy in this sort of last 2 or 3 minutes because they've had to sit in and defend well, and now the game's sort of happening at the other end of the field, and you still feel somebody's going to get a chance. There always is in football. Somebody's getting a chance.
McIntosh quite strong in the challenge again, but it will be an Oakleigh throw-in, and we'll see just under 2 minutes remaining plus stoppage time. So whichever side wants to take 3 points out of Cranbourne this afternoon doesn't have too long left to achieve that goal, as we see Jordan Hall bring it to safety, and Thomas Manos, who sprays it wide with a great pull on the deck. Hampson tries to promote forward to Joey Guest, just a bit too much on the pass. And some good composure in front of the clubhouse here at Melbourne City. And again, the end result with that product there, just not reading the situation.
Yeah, you know, it's done really well. You're really looking for him to drive up the middle of the field to maybe attract defenders and try and find that little bit of half space for any one of the front players. But it looked a lazy ball. You know, it was in the air. The wind gets underneath it. A lot of work had been done really well, but then just coughed up cheap possession. And there's another one. You know, Harrison will be disappointed with that. Transition moment, Joe Guest running in behind and just overhits it out on the far side.
Just again showing some signs of both sides just breaking away from what's worked for him this afternoon and trying to find the advantage on the scoreboard as we do approach the 90th minute. Boston that goes long and forced into a forward throw-in. He's done well to win that throw-in. I thought it was the other way, but
he tried to do a fancy turn in your final third when you're in those areas of the field. You really want to make sure you're keeping possession, you know.
Melbourne City have a chance to go forward, and they put the ball into the space of Matina, and unfortunately can't control that with the pressure of Jordan Hall. And it is going to be 5 minutes of additional time added on here at Control Cyber Campus.
Yeah, it's a now or never. I think there's been it's been a bit frantic in the last 5 or 6 minutes, which is understandable. People are looking to try and win the game. They're trying to force that final pass, but I think both sides will be disappointed to take if it's a point. But you still feel somebody's going to get a chance.
I can tell you now, over the other side of Melbourne, we've got a goal to the away side in Heidelberg United in the 87th minute, so a late potential winner for the Burgers, as we see Joey Guest looking to get something out of his side, as Heidelberg have just done on the other side of town.
Yeah, as I say, it's a game of transition now. There's a lot of tired bodies out there. You know, Melbourne City have got 6 forward in this attack, and that's good advantage by the referee. Really good advantage.
Joey Guest looking to find the right option and forced to slow up play. Alex Salmon with a good run in behind, but the offside flag has been raised from our assistant referee next to Chris Taylor's bench, and there's probably an opportunity there as a yellow card is given to Aaron Cartwright for that challenge moments ago, but probably Joey Guest holding up that probably second or two too long, because they had the advantage with a man-on-man situation across the back line for Melbourne City.
Yeah, I think Joe Guest was probably looking for someone to drop that he could have bounced to, but everybody set off on a forward run, so he was left with the having to check and wait for the right run. I think more so, I think he was wanting someone to check off that he could have played the bounce pass and then attacked.
Good run inside from Daniel Matina. Play continues out wide from Riccia. It's an edge of the box attempt. They find a space. It's O'Carroll. He plays it in short to Matina. Drives the ball in. It sails just over the crossbar. A good option there from Matina, but just a bit too much on it.
Yeah, just a bit too much on it, but I tell you, he's been lively, he's been in and around the play, he's been the one that sort of made Melbourne City tick in this last sort of 5-10 minutes. He's quite a direct runner, you know, wants to take people on, and especially inside the box forward, couldn't afford to dive in, but he's just, the final delivery was poor. You know, he'd be disappointed with that.
I'm not sure if it was a cross or an intended shot, but it almost resulted in a favourable result for Melbourne City.
When you're in that situation, you encourage your wide men. If you're not going to shoot, it's a classic stand the ball up at the back post and let someone attack it. And he did neither. He just drifted out of play.
And Bekvanovsky just turning the ball over His 18-yard box. And Melbourne City in their attacking half, trying to get something out of this late here at Control Cyber Campus. Boston riding a challenge in Labib Labib with Boston again. It's been an equally challenging battle as Liston Diaz faced for about 75 minutes as well. As Lockie Charles collects it. He goes route one. It's not really an option to find. And Jacob Tratt forcing the ball on about 3 players from Oakleigh Cannons coming back from an offside position.
Yeah, there's a lot of tired bodies out there now. I'm looking at the midfield too of Sinclair and Strong in the middle of the park. They put a lot of work in. As I say, it's gone transition now end to end. I have to say that I've been really, really impressed with Isaiah. You know, he's played so well at right back and at left back. He's been up and down. He can be really pleased, Isaiah Boston, with his day's work, because he's been the one that's been asked to control Diaz on one side and now Labib on the other side, and he's done it really well. Corner.
Another corner, so this is a dangerous one. It's going to be into the wind, so it's going to have to take a bit to get behind it, and there is some tall timber defending it for the Oakleigh Cannons. As the ball, as you can see, just can't sit there with the wind.
This is probably the best side because it's going to be brought in towards the goal rather than away from the goal if he can get the ball in the box.
And the ball finally remains still so the corner can be taken, and Manos again called into a decision, and he's made it quite well because it's sailed over the crossbar for a goal kick.
Yeah, it has. Listen, it's been a really good game. Conditions, it's been windy, it's been tough, but there's been a lot of good football played, and probably on chances created, Oakleigh will be disappointed that it looks as though it's going to potentially finish 1-1 unless something dramatic happens in the last sort of couple of minutes.
And it could be here with Alex Salmon. Lockie Charles off his line quick enough and delivers a ball over the halfway line. Equally as quick, McIntosh sends it wide to Boston, who's just caught flat-footed. And that will be the end result here at Control Cyber Campus. It is round 4 of Senol NPL Victoria, and it ends 1 goal apiece between Melbourne City and the Oakleigh Cannons.
Good game. Difficult conditions, good game. Both sides out to try and win. I think Melbourne City will be really happy. That mistake just before half-time that cost them the goal. But on the balance of play in the second half, I think Oakleigh will walk away disappointed that they didn't win the game. Diaz is one that hit the post. Salmon, who, again, Lockie Charles, I thought made a couple of really, really big saves. But all in all, a really enjoyable game. I think both sides trying to play football, and what impressed me the most, both sides tried to win the game. Didn't settle for a draw, and it's really, really good. So all in all, I think a draw might be a fair result for the neutral. I think Oakleigh will be disappointed with the chances created.
It does bring a close to a Super Sunday across the Senol NPL Victoria round 4 across town. It is still Heidelberg United with their late goal to lead the Preston Lions 1-0 in stoppage time. But from Control Cyber Campus, it is Bryce Ruthven and Gary Parker bringing you all the action. Here it is Melbourne City 1, the Oakleigh Cannons 1.